What is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, episode 335. I'm your host, Steve V, alongside Lincoln. How you doing, Lincoln?
Doing well. Hey, everyone. Happy February. We're in February now. That's exciting.
We are. It is. It actually really is. I mean, for me it is, as time is moving on and the healing process for my ankle. Yeah, it is. Joining us, of course, is Cody Maurice Doggett. How are you, Cody?
Hello, darling. I'm doing well. Hi, boys. Happy Black History Month. Lincoln just reminded me it was February 1st right now. Well, when it's released, it'll be February 1st. So happy Black History Month, everybody.
Yay!
Oh, I love that. Black History Month, yes. Well, we weren't going to talk about just yet, and it aired in January, but you can probably catch the replay. Did you guys happen to watch the Janet Jackson documentary?
I did.
I streamed every single minute. I was on bated breath. I was addicted.
I was addicted. I had popcorn. I had my wine. I was just glued to it. Honestly, some people are saying that, you didn't learn a whole lot. But what I really learned, honestly, is from her voice, just hearing the stories and a lot of it, just everything coming from her voice. I think everybody's tried to tell Janet's, her perspective was enough for me. And just all the little, I don't know if you guys noticed at the tail end, we got a snippet of a brand new track too. If you heard it,
I gotta go back and watch.
Well, watch the credits and you get a little sneak peek. Because I was like watching the credits as reading the credits. You can tell I'm a huge Janet fan. And I was like, this is a new song. This has got to be a new song. And it was. I was really excited about it.
Cool.
It sounds good.
My goodness.
Yeah. What'd you think, Lincoln?
Okay.
We'll get to you, Cody. What'd you think, Lincoln?
I love Janet. I always have. And I just really enjoyed spending a couple hours with her. And that's what it felt like to me. I liked the little nuancy stuff that I didn't know. And just watching her for a while and listening to her. I loved it. Her and I go back to Good Times. I remember seeing her on Good Times, having sympathy for her on Good Times and being like, wow, she's such an actress, given the part that she played. And I absolutely love
I didn't know that storyline.
I didn't get to the end of this series of her, and I do feel like I missed parts of it, but did they talk about poetic justice? Did they get there or no?
They did.
Okay, I missed that part.
A really good job.
But the her assistant had the poetic justice braids, and I was like, I can't wait to hear more about that. So I have it all on. It's on. Just if people did miss it, it is on Hulu now. I think for the next week before they pull it down, so you can watch it again on Hulu. And I just started to get really frustrated with the commercials, so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait, watch it on Hulu, and just watch it straight through. Because when I fast forward, I mess it up. So, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I was one of those fans that was watching it live. Of course, I'm home, right? So I was watching it live, and I was watching it with the commercial breaks, which came too quickly, but that's okay.
And it's a lot of repeat with the commercials. There's a build up to go to the commercial, and then they repeat it when they come back from the commercial, and that was getting fatiguing for me. So that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch this when it's done. So, but really good.
Great. Cody, what did you think?
I loved it. Just for all the reasons that you guys were talking about before, the nostalgia factor. I was dancing, the music, and the feeling that I got when I first saw Janet Jackson and discovered her music. And it's just infectious. It's so amazing. And I'm just so happy that there are so many fans out there. I was doing the dance to all the songs, and my boyfriend was like, how do you know this? I was like, because hello, I'm a 90s kid. Janet is one of my icons.
An icon, yeah.
The only thing, I'm going to I play devil's advocate. They didn't address like the rumors that are out there, and I think that is because it did come from Janet's perspective. So that is one of the things that I was kind of like,
What
I
rumors?
thought they did about the baby.
They addressed the baby.
Yeah, well, they addressed
Yeah,
the
that's like
baby
a
at first.
major
So
rumor.
that is the biggest one. But they didn't. What about what Bobby Brown said in his biopic about them being an item? They didn't address that.
Oh, well, I didn't even know that. And maybe that's not common. Maybe she's like, they only had 4
Okay.
hours and they had to maybe didn't make the edit.
Okay. All right. And then there was the one about what was the other thing that I thought they were going to address? Oh, about Tina and Renee having an affair, and that's why they broke up as well. Tina Landon, the
Oh.
choreographer, and Renee Elizondo, her ex-husband.
But that seems like that should have probably debunked in the mere fact that Tina was featured in the documentary.
Yeah, but it would have been okay.
I feel like Janet, being executive producer, would have been like, no, we're not having her on. If that was real, unless you're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that doesn't.
So you're saying
but who knows?
by the fact of Tina even just being there was kind of debunked that whole rumor.
Yeah, I feel like Janet probably would have been. You can be on, but you're going to need to talk about that. Like Jermaine Dupri, we find out. Oh, I don't know if this is giving away too much.
That was juicy.
We won't tell everyone. There's a juicy tidbit that I don't think America really knew about Jermaine Dupri when he was with Janet that is on the documentary. So we won't ruin that because I don't think you've gotten to that part.
Lincoln. I have not.
Okay, then we won't ruin that. But that to me was some tea that I didn't know that. So
yeah. Okay, so you're right. They tackled a lot of the rumors. Okay, I take it back.
Well, check it out. It was a lot of fun, and yes, and just a little announcement here. We are celebrating our 5-year anniversary. 2 parts, 2 weeks, beginning next Monday night, live and video, February 7th. You can join Jeremy Ross Lopez and Cody Maurice Doggett and myself for part 1, and we're going to be live streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Go to TAGSPodcast.com for the link to join us live Monday night, a day before the episode launches. And then the following Tuesday, February 15th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be joined by Lincoln, myself, and Cody, for part 2 of a 5-year anniversary of podcasting. That's Tags Podcast, the original. So join us for that, and you can find all the links on tagspodcast.com. All right, well, let's get into it. This was kind of a big deal. Have you heard of the adult porn star Diego Barros?
Barrios?
Yeah, Barros is, I think, how you say it. He is a London-based porn star. Diego Barros became the only male adult performer to have over 1 million followers on Twitter. It's the second to achieve the feat following Raheem Shabazz in July of 2021, but Shabaz's account was suspended last November. Barros is known primarily for his work on OnlyFans, and he had started the platform in early years, but he let it go for a while and then came back. And in February of 2021. He's also become the first male on OnlyFans to earn $1 million in 8 months by his OnlyFans with 6,000 followers. Born in Brazil, living in the UK. Kind of a big deal, right? I mean, in terms of, just to give you a little bit of context, guys, there's 4 drag queens that have more than 1 million followers, only 4 on Twitter. Pablo Vittar, RuPaul, Gloria Groove, and Trixie Mattel. Trixie Mattel crossed the 1 million mark last week. So just to show you kind of how, kind of a major feat that is, and to keep them too, because I think a lot of times you lose a lot or you get suspended. So I don't know, pretty cool, right, guys? What do you think?
I've actually followed him for a long time. When
Oh,
I
you
heard the name
have.
Diego, I wasn't sure if it was the same person. Yeah, he's cool. He's, it's sexy and I get it. I get why he would have so many followers. I don't have an OnlyFans thing or anything like that, so I've never followed that stuff.
Contributed
Yeah,
to his 1
I have
million
not.
page.
It happens.
Right. How about you? What do you think of this? Is that surprising to you?
No,
How
he's so
any
hot,
of
so
it?
I don't find any of that surprising. Raheem Shabazz and Diego Barrios are both. I mean, Raheem's not. His Twitter isn't active anymore, but it just shows that porn is becoming more mainstream, and it just legitimizes sex work so much more. So I'm here for it. I'm happy for him. Good job, Diego.
Yeah, yeah. Congrats. I might have to follow him. I'm not sure about the OnlyFans thing, but yes, definitely. I'm gonna contribute to 1,000,001. Okay, moving on. There's this interesting story The Guardian put out, and it's called How COVID Killed the One Night Stand and Made Us All a Little Kinkier.
Oh,
Essentially, they're saying there's been a sharp drop off in one-off encounters. Their research is showing more people are enjoying friends with benefits and getting experimental in bed. I read this whole article, which is quite in depth. I will post this on TAGSPodcast.com because I think it's a well written article about um, polling people on. It's not that sex is gone. A lot of it has come because of the pandemic. People have come in. They interviewed some people that have adult toy businesses, and they interviewed a woman that said she could see in 2020 masturbators were the big toy that people were buying from them, and then it moved into interactive toys like couples toys in 2021, and then it's and she's seen these different spikes. They've
mm-hmm.
talked to people on how, why do you think one night stands have gone down? Because I think people are learning a lot more about what they like in bed, and you can't always get that necessarily in a one night stand. I can first attest to this story
Oh,
in in one night stands. I've had plenty of them,
okay.
and
Hello.
especially, I've been reflecting on some of them. I'm writing some short stories, which come a little preview of what's to come. Erotica, gay erotica is what I'm working on right now, on some free time. And so been reflecting a lot on sex and the sex that I've had. And most of the best sex I've had has been with the friends with benefits or somebody that I had a chance to kind of develop my BDSM with. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always happen with a one night stand. Now, mind you, a lot of my one night stands have been late night that I'll meet somebody really attracted to them. I've already had 3 margaritas or more. And just and we've talked about
I
this
was
where
like,
you
girl,
go,
just three.
okay, I'm erring on the conservative
That's
writer side
funny.
of me right now.
Okay, all right. Live your
But
fantasy.
I'll come home. I think we've talked about it before. Sometimes when you come home like that, it's 4 a.m. and you've had so many drinks imbibed that not everything is as rock hard as can be, and you kind of just, you get to it or maybe you don't, and it just doesn't work out so great. I really am a fan of friends with benefits and exploring my sexuality, so I can understand where the stories kind of come from. Cody, what are your thoughts on this when you can reflect on when
Mm-hmm.
you've had one night stands
Yeah.
versus, say, sex and exploring maybe more of your sexuality with a person?
Yeah, I agree with this, and I definitely have experienced the fact that COVID has ruined my one night stand ratio because I found my boyfriend during COVID. So definitely went.
Early
There you go.
on, early on.
It was a sharp decline. Let's just put it that way. So I've had some very hot one night stands, but they were always in my 20s. I find as I'm getting older and as I age and mature and find, just like you said, like I've explored what I like in bed and things that make me happy and, excite me. And I think that that doesn't really fulfill me anymore, and it's the connection that really makes my dick hard now, basically. So I can see how COVID has made people more reflective and really taken them away from the one night stands to the more connected sex that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, I don't think one night stands are going to go away. I mean, where there's community and people getting together, I think we're always going to have them, and they're great and they can be a lot of fun. So it's not to poo poo on those.
Yeah.
Lincoln, what are your thoughts on this story and where there's coming from, and
Well, I
what you
think
hear?
for me, I wasn't really doing one night stands. I was more going to events where there were groups of people playing, and that became
Ooh.
less. Obviously, that stopped when Peter and I got together, and then I was like, well, Peter and I can always go do that in the future. And then COVID hit, and that kind of backed us up 2 feet further back. You know what I mean? Like it does. And I
Right.
also, I
Yeah.
mean, I've been thinking about this a lot and actually talking to a lot of people about this. A lot of that behavior, I think I just outgrew. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I
Yeah.
used to,
Right.
we spend our youth, like 20s, like I want to be older, I want to experience all these things, and even 30s, like experiences. And then, when I was going to Bear Week, when it was really prime Bear Week, like 6 years ago, before it got too huge, all I wanted was to bring my boyfriend to Bear Week. And now that I have a boyfriend and we've gone through COVID and I'm in my 50s, I'm like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't seem so burning to me as I get older and more
Yeah.
mature. And isn't that the point? Because if I'm still doing things I was doing when I was 20 in my 50s, that would be something I would want to examine.
Yeah, it's interesting. And sometimes it takes something traumatic. Sometimes it's just life and just happens. Sometimes it's something like a pandemic that really gets us all thinking, I think, and reflecting. That's certainly been my case too. I haven't been in a bar in a couple months now, and I don't miss it right now. Now, will I go back? Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, Lincoln, I didn't even think of that, but I've had a lot of great experiences going to, say, Master Joshua's play parties where they are strictly all about, he's got all the BDSM stations, if you will, set up, and he's there to kind of facilitate you through them. And I've had so many interesting times at those, trying new things in a safe environment. I've also just been to, we were talking, I think, recently, Cody,
Mm-hmm.
about Sex Club on Tags Live, the Zone in LA, and
Oh.
I had some really great times there in the maze of,
I love that
I
place.
love it. Yeah.
Especially when you're inside and it's all the trees in the warehouse, but you feel like you're
Yes.
outside, but you're really inside.
Right. You're in this most industrial area.
When I go to places like that, I'm all about the theater and the like architecture and the believability.
Yeah.
And that, like, which I don't think is really the top priority
Not
for a lot of people.
believability.
No, but
But the people who put the time and effort into that, like I remember when I went to snacks for Easter in Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was on a spaceship.
Oh.
right.
Like there was no question in my mind that I was not on this planet at certain parts of that. And I would get like wasn't in the mood to play anymore, so I would start to look around and I would find little speakers hidden all in different places so the sound didn't come to you from where you thought it, like stuff like that is fascinating to me.
Yeah. Speaking
You know what
of
I mean?
that, I in Berlin, Bergheim, I think you've been to it, Lincoln, before. Yeah,
Yes.
and I remember being in there, and my friend had to catch a flight. He left at 2 a.m., and I was like, bye, which I was fine by myself, met a ton of people. There was one area in Bergheim that was kind of like a cave, a mountainous cave. And I remember thinking I was just going through this cavernous tunnel, and certain things were happening in there, and you could go in there, and then you could go roam to the dance floor, and then you could climb up a whole 4 stories of flights, which seemed, and then you were in a little cafe where you could get a smoothie, and then you could
Oh.
go down
The
to a
ice cream.
ice
Yeah.
cream, and then you could go down to another dance floor that was maybe a little more homogenized. Maybe there's some straights, but it was all everybody just having a great time and kind of rinse and repeat. It was so exploratory and sensory, if you will, that I just had so much fun. So I think, yeah, the one night stand, sometimes the whole idea of bringing somebody back to your place, and do I really want to go through that? And are they going to stay the night? And am I really in that mode? But sex positive environments that are conducive to that, you kind of already go with the mindset of let's have fun, let's explore. And hopefully the environment really makes that happen. So
Well, part of the reason you just reminded me of this, which I found this funny, when I was trying to date or just hook up and bring people home, like between the paint chip wall when you walk into the apartment, the two dogs, the Tom of Finland meditation room, the disco ball, it's like you're not just coming over and leaving.
right.
You cannot walk into my apartment without being like,
oh no,
oh, and then he had this there, and oh, it's like it's a lot of me there. You know what I mean?
It's an experience.
It's a little,
yeah.
It's like, can I just put a blindfold on you and have you leave, so that you don't see my whole life, which is
sign
displayed all over my home.
That's why
have them sign an
I always put it in
NDA.
the
Have them sign an NDA outside. Blindfold them. Bring them in, and then
You're not allowed to talk at all.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this next story has kind of your names all over it, and maybe mine as a wish list. This guy on Reddit recently wrote, he outlined the very reasonable wish list for his next beau, or not reasonable wish list, some might add. Why settle when you can have it all? This guy wrote he had 10 requirements for his next Mr. Right on the Ask Gay Bros forum. This is all I want in a guy. Please tell me if it's too much or if I should add anything to the list. Here's some of the things that were on his list, his wish list. Taller than me, but not so tall that he makes me look short.
Dumb.
Makes over 6 figures, but isn't consumed by the idea of wealth.
Good luck.
We're off to a poor start.
I know, right? We already shut the first two down.
Well, is faithful and pretends that I'm his boyfriend. That I'm his first boyfriend.
Oh,
that I'm his first boyfriend. Is super jacked, but makes me his priority before hitting the gym or meal prepping his food. That's hilarious.
Yeah, good luck, Jim Widow in the making. Keep going.
That was actually really funny. We'll break some of these down in a second. Likes all the shows I do, but isn't addicted to TV. Has very high standards for a partner, but not so high that I don't make the cut. Can speak 3+ languages, so he can tell me he loves me in different ways. Is funny and has my exact sense of humor, but doesn't think our relationship is a joke. Is very career driven, but is even more relationship driven because I'm important. Is super handsome, but doesn't make me look like an old witch. This guy was clearly,
it's cute.
Yeah, putting on, I think, tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some seriousness to it. The one about the which one was it? Is super jacked and makes me his priority before hitting the gym or meal prepping his food. I dated a guy that was really into like wanting to compete and was super jacked, and they didn't put this one on the list, and they should have had a big dick, like a huge big dick. That would be on mine.
But does it make me insecure?
But isn't cocky about it. Get it?
Hey.
So that, but we would get up early, and he would get up and make the coffee and let me sleep in. But I'm talking about when I would spend the night, it would be, he's up at like 7:30, which is way earlier than I do. He let me sleep till about 7:30. He would make the breakfast, mind you, which was protein packed, egg white, omelet, that kind of thing, brown rice. And he would meal prep, but he wasn't into morning sex. So I got none of that. And he would literally, as soon as we were done eating, he'd clean up. He was also a neat freak. And then he'd be off to the gym. So I was done with him. I mean, that was it for the day. And I think I could have lived with it, but I would have wished for maybe a little bit more cuddly time, maybe some morning sex thrown in there. But I wasn't mad at the fact that I got coffee in bed and some nice breakfast. So I don't know. Did you guys have a list, though, of things, just a mental list of things? And now that both of you are in we'll say long-term relationships, did you have to make some compromises? How did that all work for you, Lincoln, when you think about it, now that you're...
You've dreamed of building a family, but the journey hasn't been easy. I'm Dr. Laura Shaheen, a reproductive endocrinologist helping people build families every day. On our new podcast, Baby or Bust, we'll be learning from both reproductive experts and people who have faced challenges just like yours. Join us every week for Baby or Bust, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow us so you never miss an episode.
Engaged.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Well, I do not want a relationship that I feel like I'm the first relationship someone's ever had, because with relationships comes experience and seasoning and all that. You know
Seasoning,
what I mean?
yes, I love that.
Yes, we like that, maturity and lessons and all that.
Come
But
on,
that
Adobo.
being said,
All the seasoning.
I just kind of blindly went into relationships in my late 20s. I didn't really get into relationships, well, a little bit. And then the relationship would put up red flags for me in the future of like, I don't want that anymore.
Right.
So like bartender, nope. Actor, nope. Hairdresser, nope. Like,
but you got to get to a
certain
good
things-
bartender.
I decided to make the
nope.
cut, Lincoln.
I
Damn.
am not doing that anymore. You know what I mean? Like that. I played that hookers. Nope. Not doing escorts anymore. Like just you go through them. Actor. Like nope. But then
We should
you
try
meet
it,
someone,
right?
and some of those.
So what are you saying? Peter's
things,
now a bartender, a hooker, and works at a...
exactly. Some of those things go to the side when you meet someone, but the reason I say that is I kept trying. I think I've said this on the show before, and anyone who's out there looking for a relationship, I kept trying to put my formula on how a relationship works onto people. And then I also sometimes would pick the wrong person. So if I picked the right person, they were great, but my formula didn't work. And I found like people who went on tour was not the kind of relationship I could have in my formula. Now my formula's changed over the years, don't get me wrong, and it evolves and you mature and you find what works for you. But for me, certain things are like, yeah, I'm just not even going to go there. I'm not even going to try and fit that circle into a square because I tried it so many times over and over again.
So is what you're saying that is you had to let all that go, and then when you did, Peter appeared?
Yeah, I mean, and I've had, prior to Peter, I had some very significant relationships in my life, and just because they didn't last does not mean they didn't work. They worked really well for the amount of time I was in them. You know what I mean? And then usually the breakup of those, almost 100% of the time, I would say, made me the man I am today, and what I know I want from a relationship and what I don't want. Now, that being said, there's always compromise in relationship.
Right. Yeah.
So you could say what you want. You could have firm things of, I want this, 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 this. But then you go, is cuddling in the morning really that important?
Right.
When I get breakfast every day and we have sex 5 nights a week, and as you stated, he has a big dick, you kind of let certain things go.
Yeah. Well,
I
hear
called
you.
life.
He's now married to somebody else, so it did work out for him. And apparently liked all that. So, and I wish him well, and it's all good. They're still friendly. Yeah. No. Cody, it's interesting after watching. Not to pull it back to Janet Jackson again, but the one thing that I forgot to mention is the one thing she hasn't had a lot of luck with. I mean, I guess some for long-term relationships she has, but they haven't always ended great.
Yeah.
And I think she's still searching, like myself, for love. What have you noticed? Did you have a list of things that you were checking off, and does Joe fill that list?
I wouldn't say that I have a list. I definitely have conditions of satisfaction, which are complete non-negotiables. Kindness. And they aren't anything that has to do with physical features or anything that is kind of fly by night or not insubstantial in my mind. It has to do with how they are, they're being more so than what's on the outside. So I and that came from really dating people and finding out what type of person I really, really like, just like Lincoln said before. So I think that, yes, Joe fits all the criteria. Joe checks all the boxes as far as what I want in a human being are. So
Don't you also find, Cody, that it's hard to talk about it once you're in a relationship with someone?
I
Right.
find
Do
that
you know what I mean by that? Like,
no.
because now that you're in a relationship, I'm in a relationship, certain things that I might have said 6 years ago,
Go out the
no,
window now.
if they don't do this, they're not gonna da 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 da. And now it's like, I don't even remember what those things were.
Right? Because it was a year ago, and I'm like trying to recall, and I feel like I'm talking in a circle. I'm like, wait a minute.
The audience feels that way too,
Oh
Cody.
my God.
I'm kidding.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, no, I do. But I'm trying to put myself in that space because it was only a year ago that I met him. So I get what you're saying, but I guess maybe 6 years down the road, it will feel like that. But right now, I'm able to associate myself with that part of my life more readily and more easily, I feel like.
And I
Got
think,
it.
to your point, though, Lincoln, I think when you meet somebody that you connect with, that a lot of those things, they are meeting your list. And maybe it was an unspoken list that you had in your mind. And no, if you're in love and you're making those compromises, you're not going to go back and think, oh, remember when I wanted this and this person isn't. You're being in the here and now, which I think
No,
is
bitch.
present.
If they didn't meet it, I'd be like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, but after a year or after an engagement,
I mean,
clearly
you're
not gonna,
Or an experience, like you lived
previous
through COVID
relationships.
together.
Yeah, exactly. But I
right,
feel
or
like previous
or any
relationships.
experience.
Yeah. Like something, and this is what I was saying earlier, you grow out of certain behavior.
Right.
Like dressing up for the Eagle, while I know I will still do it, and Peter and I will still do it, and it'll be fun from time to time, not top priority right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
That's right.
think when you're sitting, not to make it really morbid or anything, but when you're sitting in a mortuary dealing with a parent that dies, the person who's your rock next to you, they kind of lift out of, but I wanted someone taller.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Really
it's
surface.
what, like, the fact that both Peter and I are white are a shock to both of us. Trust us. Because we don't really like date our own kind or whatever. Like, I went through the whole rainbow, trust me, before I got to where I am now. And we both turned to each other and been like, God, that's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, it really is. Because that wasn't part of the plan. You know what I mean? At all.
Right.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
I love this
I can
conversation.
definitely see that for myself as well, because right before I met Joe, right before I started dating Joe, I was like, you know what? I need to date more people of color, because I had just come out of a relationship with a beautiful Asian man, and he was so sweet, and it just didn't work out. But then I was like, that was enjoyable. I want to do that again. And then I met Joe, and I'm like, oh, okay, this white man is checking all the boxes, so I'm gonna have to stick with it.
You also said on a previous show when we were talking about certain things that are what you like and don't like in a person, or like physical attributes, and you said you only like hair, Cody,
and Joe is not hairy.
And I'm
His feet are.
wondering, was your Asian ex hairy?
Not that I can remember. He wasn't hairy.
Okay, so yeah, I think
You just let things
I
go.
love. You got to let things go and just go with it.
Yeah. Well, let me just say though, you let things go until you break up. I knew he should have not been white, or I knew.
Then you come back out with that list. Yeah, then the list.
That list is full throttle.
The legal pad is out. The bottle of wine, the ice cream, yeah, and it all starts again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll put a wish list together now while I'm single, and just maybe a vision board. How's that?
Maybe a vision board.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. There is a guy that also another OnlyFans sensation. He recently wrote on, let me just get his name really quick. Scott Wilde is a guy, And he said a couple things in this article that I got, but one of his major things that he said, and I want to hear from you guys on that, a good top needs to know how to bottom, is his major statement. And I want to know what you guys think of that. But before we get to that, he's talking about his relationship in this article. And he says, my relationship situation, speaking of changes, has changed dramatically midway through my OnlyFans career, he explained, going from a kind of monogamous, but playing with other guys as a couple, to fully open and enjoying sex with multiple partners, both with my boyfriend and apart. He says they've discussed how the relationship might evolve further over time, even considering becoming polyamorous later down the line. They wrote polygamous, but I think they read polyamorous. But right now, I know, like, I'm
Big
pretty sure that's
shit
a
right
type.
there.
Yeah, I think that's a typo. But right now, he's very happy with what he has. Quote, we all have the right to make our own rules and set boundaries to make our relationships work. And I hope that heteronormative expectations fade away. I like his perspective on this. And I think, just speaking to what we were talking about change and compromises, I think we're going to have a guy this Wednesday on Tags Live, Brian Madigan. He's a guru on, he's going to be talking about open relationships, and he's a life coach on gay men this Wednesday. So join us on Tags Live for that conversation. That should be really good. But Cody, what are your thoughts on just his major statement, a good top needs to know how to bottom?
I could not agree more. When you said that, I giggled a little bit. My Janet Jackson giggle. I'm going to keep bringing her up.
Yeah, right.
Don't let her go, man.
Because just this morning, Joe rolled me over.
You bottomed?
I didn't bottom, but we got really, really close to me bottoming. And I was like, are there no bottoms in this room right now? Are we two tops in our relationship? So I couldn't agree more. A good top needs to know how to bottom, because you're only that much more cognizant of what it takes to be a bottom, and what you have to go through in order to bottoms. And I think that knowledge allows you to be more kind, more pleasing to your bottom when you know that kind of thing.
The knowledge, absolutely. I agree with that too, because I think just you have to know. Now, I think it's good to be versatile like that, and maybe you're always going to go in one position. One's going to be more bottom than top most of the time, and I think that's great. But I think just to kind of know would be good. What are your thoughts on this, Lincoln?
I agree with you. I think it's a good, sure. However, I don't think it's mandatory.
No, right.
I think that there's a lot of great tops out there that look in the eyes of whoever they're topping and can tell what they're doing right and what they're not doing right for that particular person. So, I think it's not mandatory. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not mandatory. This is somebody that they're exploring. He's doing OnlyFans, and he wrote later that he likes to keep this part of it private, what he does with his boyfriend. Of course, he's sharing with us on this article, but but I think that this is when he's, given what he's expressed to us about how they have discussions all the time. It sounds like he's in a healthy relationship that continues to evolve. And I like the part about that, what he said really about how they check in with each other, and it might change to polyamorous down the road. This is what's working for them now. And it seems like they have ongoing conversations, and that seems to be kind of the key to a successful relationship. So,
oh yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. People change all the time, and if you're not willing to change with a relationship, then I feel like it's doomed to fail. If you are steadfast in staying the same person, you have to grow in your relationship. So I couldn't agree with them more.
Me too. All right, now it's time for my favorite segment where we give some advice.
Ooh.
And seeing that we are now in February when this show comes out, Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and Jake wrote in, it's kind of a sweet, simple advice question for us. Jake writes, love the show, but I wanted to get some advice on when is the best when to go for the first kiss on a date. And I think that's so sweet to ask that question. And it's just a simple question. And I mean, I don't know, Cody, do you remember when you went for the first kiss, and when did it happen? Was it on the first date, or
Oh yeah.
I think sometimes, we're such a show about, gay sexuality. I think sometimes people think that we're always just going to be talking about the pounding, and we want to do that.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many nuances to it, and and many of us are going on dates too, and it can seem like a simple thing, but it could be nerve-wracking too, especially when you like somebody.
Yeah. So for my last first date, which was over a year ago now, he was throwing me signals left and right. We went in pretty quickly, I feel like, for the first kiss. But my general rule of thumb for first kisses are at least before the end of the first date. But if they are signaling to you, or you are throwing signals that you would like to enjoy a nice first kiss, then you just go when it feels right, basically. But definitely before the end of the date, because if you don't get that first kiss in before the end of the date, then you're just friends at that point.
You know what? You bring up such good points, Cody. That's excellent advice. I think I 100% agree with you, because I think a lot of times people think, oh yeah, we hook up, gay men, we hook up right away, and that's fine. I mean, I've been on dates where I hooked up and we ended up being boyfriends, and it worked out for a while, and that's great. On the other hand, I can remember one of my last dates I think it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy asked me out. I really thought he was very funny, and we got along. We met on the beach, not in a bar, which is different for me, which is really great.
That's
and
awesome.
He made me laugh. Yeah. And we set a date. We went on the date, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a date. And we met to go out to have a drink here in New York. And at the end of it, I was like vibing off of him, but not necessarily, like, I didn't know where I was with it. Like, I could have gone either direction. And at the end of the date, he leaned into me and gave me a big hug.
Oh.
And I was like, oh,
That's
okay.
it. The kiss of death.
I was already on the fence with it, but yet he kept asking. But he kept asking me out after that. So we went on 2 other dates, but then I realized, okay, I just kept like, well, I'm not into it, so I'm making this a friendship thing. But I kind of agree. Kind of has to happen at the end of the first date. Lincoln, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't agree at all.
Shocking. Jake's getting some 2/3 of advice here.
I kissed Peter before our first date.
Oh, well, that's cheating.
Oh.
Because I ran into him. I told this story before. I will make it very brief, but I ran into him while walking the dogs. He walked out of Crunch on 19th Street, and I was like,
not outside of Crunch.
Right outside of Crunch. And exactly. Well, no, it's more of a pervert than that than you think. I said, hey, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. How's Cody and mutual friends? And he's like, good. And I went, why haven't we ever made out?
Oh.
And he went, I don't know. And I just kissed him. And then I said, do you want to go have a drink sometime? And he said, yeah.
Wow.
So that kind of blows your... Okay, so that's that. I also think it depends on where...
Cut to engagement ceremony.
Exactly. I also think it depends on where the two people are in their lives.
Okay.
If someone just broke up with someone and they're going on a first date with someone, they don't necessarily need a kiss that first time out. If there's someone who is just COVID paranoid, or... I just don't think it has to be the first date. If you don't kiss, then you're friends forever. Like, I think there's a little bit more nuance. You both said it depends on the people. So let's just stick with that. Like, it depends on the two people and the energy of the night, but I don't think it has to happen.
Well, and good point, Lincoln, because I've also gone out with somebody and made out with them on a date, and it went nowhere. I thought,
exactly.
You know what I mean? It was like, did the whole dinner, did the after drink thing, made out at the end, and nothing happened after it. So it didn't go anywhere. And I think, you got to kind of work with energy. If you're enjoying each other's company and you both go with your energy, I think, is the advice too. If you're vibing off that person, don't be afraid to maybe text them that you want to see them again, or make that next date on the first date, make a second date out of it. And don't be afraid to do that. But yeah, I guess you don't have to have any clear cut. Do you still stand by your Cody's?
I do. So, but look, wait for this.
And you can.
I got
Good for you.
I got you. So, yes, everybody is different. So you decide for yourself when you think is the best time to actually go in for the kiss. And if you don't kiss on the first date, maybe you're not just friends. For this person over here sitting in my room on this podcast, if we don't kiss on the first date, then we are friends. Point blank, period.
Well, the reason I say that more than anything is the first kiss should be like you're moved to do it. Right?
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
It's like when you go see a musical and that's the point of a musical. They're so moved, they can't talk about it anymore. They have to sing. And that's why all of a sudden they're breaking into song in the middle of a moment. So it's kind of the first thing with kissing, especially on a romantic first date, or, some people say the third date is when you kiss. It depends.
Who said that? Oh my God.
I've never heard that before?
No, I've never heard that.
So when do you have sex? Second date?
I think the third date is when you have sex.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was getting it confused. So by 3 dates, you've kissed and had sex. What? I have turned into an old man. That's all there is.
Well, okay. It's funny because going back to Scott Wilde, I really liked what he had to say about trying to get out of heteronormative situations and norms that we place. In other words, in general, in the past, the guy would lean in and kiss the girl when he was ready, and that whole thing. When you have two guys, is one of them has got to be the initiator on that whole situation, and it doesn't always necessarily mean it's the top that's going to ultimately be the top either. What do you think about that? Kind of who's the one? Like for this guy, he sounds like he wants to be the one that is going to be the initiator to me, but do you think it can get confusing on like which one of you is going to lead it?
Because both of them are men.
No.
I don't think that there should be any rules as far as who is the initiator of the first kiss. I agree.
No matter what role they will ultimately be.
Hey, there are no rules.
Yeah. There are no rules, and rules are made
with everything going on in the world. We're not even, some people you call them a man and they're offended because we're non-binary now. Also, come on, there are no rules. Get the rules off of, especially given COVID-19 and everything we've been through as a society and as a community, and acceptance and non-acceptance and the HIV disaster, all that stuff. Like, throw the rules out the door. If you want to kiss someone, kiss them. If you kiss them too soon and they go, it's too soon, give me a week, then maybe you give them a week and you're together forever. It depends on the two people. Not to not answer the question, but that really is the answer to the question. It's like the guy before that said everything he's looking for. Well, if he walks into the right guy with the right smile at the right time in his life, he could throw all those things out the window and have a very happy relationship for the rest of his life. And I just don't want anyone to give up that possibility because of a rule or a list.
To limit themselves because of
there's no reason for that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Miranda is in love with the woman all of a sudden. Everything's changed. I don't understand.
Actually, Che is non-binary.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
I'm jumping out the window. I'm so pro Steve all of a sudden.
I love the conversation. Oh my gosh, so much fun. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. Always so much fun. Don't forget, we are live with our part 1 5-year anniversary next Monday night, February 7th, live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Go to TAGSPodcast.com to find the link to join us live for our part 1 of 5-year anniversary. Thanks, guys. So much fun. You can follow my co-host Lincoln at his Protein Bakery, at Protein Bakery on Instagram, or follow him at Mad Lincoln on Instagram. Follow Cody Maurice Doggett. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching. and his personal one at Mr. Maurice. Thanks, guys. So much fun. This has been a lot of fun.
Steve, always so much fun.
Always good to catch up.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, continue having hot
Gay sex. Yeah.